We've got one more, oh my gosh, most exciting panel because I'm moderating it. So, staying in a world of storytelling, our next conversation features the team behind one of the most talked about series, Chief of War on Apple TV. Oh my gosh, how many of you have watched Chief of War? So good. I was just having a conversation with and I'm like, I had to watch the show this week so I can be fresh off my memories, and everything I see is Chief of War for me. So seeing the mountains, mountains, I'm like, oh my gosh, Keaulana, Chief of War. Anyway, I would like to introduce, are we doing the video first? No. Are we rolling the video? Okay, I'm gonna introduce, Angela Laprete. She is an award-winning producer with over 30 years of Hawaiian film and commercial production. She produced Chief of War and co-founded ICANN, a nonprofit ICANN is a nonprofit dedicated to elevating Native Hawaiians and Pacific Islanders in television and film. So without further ado, Angela.
Growing up in Hawaii, never had the right community to thrive, to grow, to pursue this thing called acting. Now we have a place to be, a place to look forward to being at in ICANN.
Your talent is based on how long you can bear to show what it is to have come to know about life.
We have every right to the whale. Everybody has a right to it. They should all be speaking it. And if your feet on the aina, that's your right.
Key word for us is elevate.
With our instructors, with our coaches, teaching them our own experiences within the industry.
The culture of what ICANN is, it's not about ownership, it's about stewardship. How can we be better stewards of each other?
They all love my boy. They all love my boy. That repetition, it'll come.
ICANN is a safe space for local actors, where culture is utilized, craft is trained, and technique is honed in order to assist in the growth of Hawaiian acting artists.
Wake up.
There's a lot of connections with the great people. They love the story and they love Hawaii.
Really, for me, it's been a rebirth in my acting journey.
Our dreams are real and they're ours for a reason, and we have the ability to do this.
I'm at the point where in order to make it, I leave home. I'm born and raised. I'm not. My roots are planted.
I can't.
Mahalo. Wow, it's so bright up here. I'm usually behind cameras, so it's kind of weird being here. But first off, mahalo to Blue Startups for having ICANN here, our first time ever to the East-West Tech Conference. Honored to be here amongst all of you. I think the video may have kind of told the story of what we're about, but International Cultural Arts Network was started almost 3 years ago. We actually make 3 in a few days. And it was my partner, there's 3 of us that co-founded ICANN. We're all industry veterans collectively with over 90 years of experience, which is very scary. But we, as a producer on Chief of War, me and Brian actually saw some missed opportunities that keep happening to our Hawaiian talent. And so we felt, Jesus, we should do something about this, because Chief of War is the most incredible series ever to be on a global platform, and we can't even have all of our Hawaiian talent in it. So what we do is we bring in industry professionals, and high-level training and access so that our talent here can actually learn from the professionals and have hands-on experience that really doesn't happen a lot. And so with our experience and our connections, we wanted to build that. And so in short, it's been 3 years now. We've had over 20 coaches, 80 actors culminated our programs, 20 writers, all focused on Native Hawaiians and Pacific Islanders here in Hawaii, while we continue to bridge connections globally so we can continue to learn and grow and network and bring experience here to Hawaii and uplift our community. That's really what we're about. And a nonprofit is much harder than a production. That's all I can say about it. And we're really excited that we're still here, and we're just really happy to be able to bring access and continue to bring access to people like Thomas Pa'a Sibbett and Jason Momoa and any and everybody who shoots here in Hawaii, you know, to learn and be able to talk, as we say, talk story in Hawaii personally with these type of individuals that you rarely ever get access to. So that between me, Brian, and Suka, the three of us who started this, you know, we're just happy to be here and honored, and we want to keep building our network. So on that note, mahalo for having us, and I'm boring, so I'm going to pass it on to while you're all here, I'm going to introduce Thomas Pa'a Sibbett. He is the co-creator, executive producer, writer of Chief of War. And Maya Rogers, I'm going to invite you back as well. So thank you again for having me and ICANN and putting us here in the spotlight. Really appreciate it. Mahalo.
This island, this is your home. This land will hold you long after I'm gone.
Tell me of the outside world.
It is strange. The pale skin honors no gods of the land. They will be coming soon. If this island is divided, this kingdom will fall. Alcohol moderna.
Keaulana is the fist of our people. We will need him to face the troubles that come our way.
I feel like the gods are against me.
Our gods are the same in that way. They speak to men about men. They don't speak with me. I want to fight.
Elala ni ho'okahi no nā upuni apa. Oko ulala ni no ia. E kani ka pukaua.
Tomorrow we face gods and men to build the kingdom. No matter what happens to me, this is your home.
How incredible. For those of you who were here last year, I got to interview the writers of Shogun, and I was fangirling over Mariko-sama, and this year I'm of course gonna fan over Jason Momoa. He did come to my building for one of the, I think Wrecking Ball was a movie, and they're on set, and I got to see him in person. Is gonna be as close as I get to Jason, and that's okay?
Yes, I'm the Temu version.
But I'd have to say this because my aunt is Jason Momoa, like super fan, and when I saw him in person, I was like, oh my gosh, I get it now. I totally get it.
We all get it, it's okay.
That guy's big, very big. Okay, so you guys saw that preview. That makes me want to watch it over and over again. Chief of War is a 9-episode epic on Apple TV+. So if you haven't watched it, watch it. You can get a 7-day free pass if you don't have Apple TV. And I also will plug in the Tetris movie because that's also on Apple TV.
Yes.
But the Chief of War show holds 93% on Rotten Tomatoes. A little shout out to Rotten Tomato co-founder Pat. I know you're in here.
Mahalo.
It is the first major series that streamed and using mostly Hawaiian language, Olelo Hawaii, and it took 10 years to make. Roughly.
Yeah. I mean, the idea.
The idea.
It was something that's been around for a while.
But Pa'a, I'd love to start from the beginning and how you got started. I read that you used to be a lifeguard at Keaulana Ranch, and you had found out that somebody wanted to make a movie about Kamehameha, and you bought a book called Writing Screenplays That Sell. And is this how you got into writing? I'm sure you're a writer. I'm sure you were creative all throughout your life, but talk to me about how you were the lifeguard at Keaulana to becoming an actual professional screenwriter.
So, yes, I was a waterfront safety lifeguard. I was also a Japanese briefer because I speak Japanese. And so, yeah, 少しだけ。少しだけ。あ、すごい上手。結構喋る。まだ勉強しないとダメ。あ、じゃあまた日本語で喋りましょう。But so yeah, I was working at Keaulana, but I was a terrible lifeguard. I really was bad. This is terrible to say. I actually cheated on my swim test because they did it in I think it was a Kailua's pool that only goes to like 5 feet in the middle. And so I got real tired and started walking. But yeah, I was a waterfront safety lifeguard. I was not that good at it. I'm one of the Hawaiians whose manas for the mountains and not for the ocean. But at Keaulana we had kayaks. So I never had to swim to save anybody. I could always kayak, grab them, pull them in, which we did have to do. But yeah, it was there. I read a newspaper article. It was Honolulu Star Advertiser when people used to read newspapers. And I read that they were going to do a Kamehameha movie, and I thought, man, if Hollywood wants Hawaiian stories, I bet I could do that. You said that maybe I was creative before. I don't actually think I was. I wasn't pursuing writing in any way. I didn't even know you could make money from it. I was just a grunt worker, and I'm actually really, really glad I came upon writing because I'm really not that good at anything else. I was never pursuing being a manager or a supervisor. I was just the guy that you told what to do, and I would get it done. But yeah, I bought a book because I had an idea. When I heard they were going to make a Hawaiian movie, I thought, well, I got a bunch of ideas for that. So I had an idea, and I thought I need to learn how to write. So, and I didn't want to go to school for it because I was already in school, and I didn't want to have to pack up my family and move them. So I committed to being a writer without spending any money. That was kind of my goal. Like, what could I do? How could I do this without spending any money? So the money I spent was on that one book. And even that, I didn't even read the whole thing. Like, it was just, I didn't read it. And I just learned the format from the book, was all I really was looking for. And I wrote probably 3 screenplays before I ever even thought to read one. And when I read a screenplay, I was like, oh, that's what it's supposed to look like. That's how it's supposed to work. And so, yeah, it was just a trek to, really, it's all about self-discovery, right? It's all about like who you are and, you know, what is your voice, and does the story you want to tell have any value? You learn all that. in the process of it. So I didn't go to school for it, and I still don't know where I would stack in the system of being graded, or am I, following the teachings or anything like that. I just don't know that I process well that way. I didn't actually do that well in college when I did go, and so it was kind of a self journey to become a writer.
And how old were you when that whole journey sort of?
I wrote my first script when I was 28, which I thought was really late. Because again, there's a lot of people that are just young and hungry, and they know what they want to do, and they go to college, and they can spend those years developing through academics or whatever. But I was already old enough. I was married, I had kids, and it was just something that I fully dedicated myself to, and with a blind naivety believed that I could do it, and that's all I had.
But you had something in you that sort of called you to do this, right? Because it's
Yeah, for sure. Once I found that after I wrote my first script, I realized, oh, okay, well then I bet I can do another one, and I bet I can do another one, and I just kept writing them without knowing if they were any good, and I'm sure they were terrible. I'm sure my first ones were really bad, but they all laid the groundwork for what I would eventually be able to do. And I got into the industry to tell Hawaiian stories, but it doesn't happen that way. Like, they don't just let you write something because you say that you're a writer, you have to prove it. And so, I was able to, I'd written enough that when it came time to have to prove, could I deliver, then I was able to. On my first produced feature, I wrote the first draft in 4 days and turned it in to the producers. And as a statement of saying, this is what I can do, and this is how I do it, and that sort of put me on a trajectory of like a reputation of a writer who was quick, that was able to do what needs to be done and to be, workable.
So you had it. I mean, you definitely have the talent. Thank God you're not a lifeguard anymore, because
I was bad. I really was. I was bad.
Okay, so there's no economic precedent for any show to have ever been done in Hawaiian language.
Yeah.
How did you guys convince Apple TV and the executives this is it? I mean, if you haven't watched the show, it's 80%? How much of it is it?
I haven't done a breakdown, an actual breakdown, but it's a good 70, 70, maybe 80% in Hawaii, the whole thing. And it was a conversation. Now, I will say this. It had nothing to do with like if anybody was wondering, the struggle to get Hawaiian language into a film had nothing to do with like, personal biases or prejudice or racism. It was just simply that nothing had been done like that before, and it's always scary to step into a place and try to do something that has no economic precedent. And what I mean by that is, if you do a film in Korean based on the genre, and they can kind of formulate a demographic and how much it could possibly make, and if it makes more great. If you do it in Spanish or other languages, there is sort of an economic precedent. There was nothing for Hawaiian, so it really was a struggle to convince them, but it really came down to them believing in us, right? If we say, and our work has kind of showed what we're capable of, but basically just understanding that we want to build a world that's based on a real history, real people. The characters themselves have their own history. The story is a history. That if we removed language, then we would remove the reality of the story. And I wanted to be able to point to everything that you see on that screen, even the things that seem crazy outlandish, whether it's swimming with sharks or surfing down a mountain. I wanted to be able to say that's actually rooted in something real. Even if I may have taken something a little bit to the right or a little bit to the left, it was knowing that it was all grounded in something real. It wasn't just a crazy idea to do that, and language was one of those. It was a grounding marker to say that this story is based on something real.
Did you grow up in Washington State?
Yeah, I grew up in Washington State, and I've said this before, but I don't have a lot of applicable skills. I don't even really believe that I'm a great writer, but if I have a skill, it's that ability to speak to both worlds. A lot of people call it code switching. But because I was raised in Washington State, I can express the idea of a quote-unquote Hawaiian story to retain its universal nature, right? To be able to talk about the story as if it is something that we can all relate to. But if I come out strong, I'm like, hey, I'm Hawaiian, I want to tell a Hawaiian story, and then you inadvertently alienate a bunch of people. But if you can do it in a way, present it in a way to remind them. I grew up watching movies that technically Hawaiians are not present in, but I could enjoy the movie. You know, whether it's Luke Skywalker, who, you know, somebody that I really thought his journey was amazing, and I could see myself in that character. Or, you know, even, I mean, one of my favorites is Wreck-It Ralph, which is an animation. I think it's structurally, it's a beautiful story, and it works in all these different ways. I can see my struggle in him, and my kids can see their struggle in other characters. So despite telling people refer to it as a Hawaiian story because it's easily looked at as a Hawaiian story. It's actually a story of all of us. We can all relate to it. It's just packaged in a way that you've never seen or heard before.
It was so interesting for me to watch, because, you know, you're watching the subtitles, and if you live in Hawaii, you understand some of the words. So it was almost a little bit difficult because I'm like picking up some of the words, but I want to know what they're saying, you know, and so that was kind of cool. So tell me about, I know you and Jason have been working together for like 15 years, and how did that process come about? And also I want to ask, because I know that your lineage comes from Kahekili, is it? And then Jason does have lineage on the Keaulana side, right?
So,
which are two opposing sides.
Which is interesting though, is they start off, they're both from Maui. And Jason and I found out through this project that we are related. We didn't know that. So the way we met was pretty simple, like this, you know, at Tech Summit, we talk about how bringing people together and, you know, using technology or whatever, and, you know, East meets West, it's great, it's great. We used what we call coconut wireless. And I found out that his father went to high school with my mom. And, you know, I had no way of getting in touch with him, but I thought, I bet I can go through his dad. And so I did. I reached out to his father, and I had an idea. It wasn't Chief of War, but it was another idea. And, you know, pitched it to the father as fast as I could, because I didn't know if I was going to get Mr. Aloha, which in Hawaii you get either Mr. Aloha or you get the who the hell is calling you, you know? I didn't know which one I was going to get. Thankfully, his father is full of aloha, and he was a great man, and he heard me out. And in the end, he said, you know, I can't give you my son's number. You know, I was like, oh, okay. He says, but I will give you his agent's number, which worked. So I sent a script to his agent read it, really loved it, gave it to Jason, and within a few minutes, this is basically what Jason said to me. He goes, I can't swear in here, can I?
Of course you can, fuck yeah.
Okay. Close that door, close it tight. Jason basically told me, he goes, I don't know who the fuck you are or where you came from. He goes, but I have to do this movie. And so that's how we connected it. It started with that, and we started building together, working together. Jason was on a movement to get his career higher. I needed to prove myself as a writer. So even though, you know, he's the face and he's the talent, and, you know, we all love him, we both were going through this growing process together. And I think that's why we've been able to retain and hold so long, that we actually started off as working companions before we were friends. Otherwise, it would be hard for me to be in a room and present ideas if I was just his friend. You know, like studios or executives, producers wouldn't take me seriously. Yeah, but that's basically how we met and got started.
Amazing. I love that. It was started with as a professional sort of relationship. Earlier we had talked about, Shanna mentioned, you know, in Hawaii, what high school you went. This is a perfect example of, you know, knowing who you went to high school with. That's your network, very important.
For sure.
I wanted to also say that you might have a second career in impersonation, because that was a pretty good.
Oh, is that
Jason?
good? I think I'm around him a lot, and I actually hear his voice when I write, and it bothers me a little bit because he's in my head a little too much. And it actually makes it hard for me to watch the movies that he's in. You know, it's hard for me to watch the movies that he's in because I know him really well. But yeah, I'm constantly hearing his voice when I'm writing, and sometimes I'll write and I'll be like, he would never say that. You know, try it again. Oh, that's exactly what he would say. You know.
But you guys wrote the script together, I mean, and did you write it in English and then translate it?
Yes, yeah. We did that to streamline the process. And you know, I by no means walk around and say that I'm a fluent Hawaiian speaker. I'm okay. My educational background was Hawaiian studies, but I said it a little earlier, I wasn't even that great of a student. Yeah, so we wrote it in English. We even auditioned everything in English, even though we knew characters were going to be speaking Hawaiian. It was just to streamline the process, which is what I know a lot of people, that's what we're all about, is figuring out how can you streamline a process, make it easier, make it more universal, and that's sort of how we approached it, is to make sure that it was accessible to the actors, easier for them, but then once they got the role, we really challenged them. Okay, now, everything you just did, you got to learn how to do it in another language.
So I'm sure through this process of making Chief of War, it really kind of shifted your beliefs and your culture, and how did that change you as a person, and how do you see that has impacted your family and sort of like the next generations to come?
That's a great question. When we started building the show, we couldn't really imagine or even really spend too much time thinking about the impact that it could have culturally for Hawaii in general, because it would be crippling, it would be a lot of weight to carry, and it's terrifying. It's terrifying. So all we could really do was build the story that we would enjoy, build the story that we felt was the best representation in our point of view, and it started off as that, but as the process went on, because it was something that was saying it was going to go on the backs of authenticity, of history and culture and all of that, that we were brought in to this amazing Hawaiian community, and which I refer to as this upper echelon of Hawaiian knowledge. Like, it's not normal that you get to speak to some people that just are keepers of amazing history and knowledge. And we got brought in and supported, which really, really helped. And so how it changed me is I've always identified as a Hawaiian, but I didn't grow up in Hawaii, so I had a hard time identifying, like truly identifying as a Hawaiian. Growing up in Washington State, I was always looked at as, depending on the community I was near, I was either Hispanic or Filipino or Thai or something like that. Beautiful cultures, but it just, it wasn't who I was. But then, so it was hard to be a Hawaiian in Washington. But then I also found it hard to be Hawaiian in Hawaii because I didn't grow up here. And so I was always walking this line, but by being brought in by this community and supported, it really helped me to really start to be able to identify and feel connected in a different way. And that result has affected my family. Even more so, actually, than just in the community. My son, I remember thinking about it as my kids would come to set. The creators were Hawaiian. A lot of our actors, Polynesian, and Jason directed, so the directing was Hawaiian, the producing was Hawaiian, language was Hawaiian, and I remember my kids were able to have an opportunity to see that success can also come in the image of strong brown people, and they walked away with that. They took that, and one thing that I am proud of, actually, as we're talking about East meets West, is areas where we couldn't, lean on Hawaiian expertise because maybe it wasn't there or we couldn't find it, then we could lean on, our Asian community, and we really focused on, okay, if we can't have a super strong, Hawaiian director, then we could look in other areas and we find Justin Chong, Matthew Schwung, who was our DP, and Doug Jung, our showrunner. Like, it really did feel, and it was conscious, to build this as an Asian Pacific Island production. And we even held ourselves to that standard on how we ran production. We allowed ourselves to open culture up to be part of our everyday discussions and how we ran things through our lens and how we see things, and not always the traditional, straight down the middle Hollywood production. Yeah.
I love hearing that, and I think the fact that you grew up outside of Hawaii, you have that unique perspective, right, of both cultures, and even creating Chief of War, like you said earlier, you're trying to create, it's the same human story that's relatable by everyone, and I think you have that advantage of being Hawaiian, but being also, growing up and outside of Hawaii.
Yeah, again, I pulled that card. I played that card because it's the only strong one I have.
Well, yeah, we all should play the cards we have, right? One other thing I want to talk about. So the actor who played Kamehameha,
Yes.
he was literally a terraformer.
He was a
in, like,
terraformer.
the nuclear
Yeah. So, Kaina Makua, the way that I envisioned Kamehameha, like I know he has so many different facets to him, so it was hard to try to just present them all. So I wanted to pull on one thread. We know that he was a nurturer of life, even though he was a taker of life as well. But after the islands were united, he turned the people to agriculture, and so we know his favorite lo'i patches. We know what kind of taro he liked, which variety, and so I wanted him to feel like a farmer. That's just how he was created, because we have so many warriors in the show that I wanted him to feel like a farmer. And yeah, it was amazing that the guy who plays Kamehameha is a kalo farmer. That's literally what he does. He grows Hawaiian kalo. And so it was perfect.
He had never acted before.
Never acted before. And I will say this, didn't really have an interest in acting. We had to court him in a way that we didn't have to court anybody else. People who are getting into acting, they're just like, if they're just getting involved and just getting into it, they're like Jason Momoa, Apple TV, like, yeah, I'll do whatever you need, and Apple can negotiate from a position of from that. Kaina did not care. He did not care. He runs like 6 nonprofits. He's a busy person, and he coaches canoe racing, and they're literally ranked in the world as like he is as Hawaiian as it gets. And so we couldn't impress him. So it was really hard actually to get him. And, we were able to, and he was such a wonderful addition.
I mean, I feel like that really comes through, in his character development. And I'm like, who is this guy? I've never seen him before, but oh my gosh, by the end of it, you're like, Kamehameha.
Well, I will say, can I share a quick story? And some of you may have heard this, but it's the opposite of tech. So in Hawaii, the sign of a chief is a rainbow, right? Like we have all these old stories of, somebody coming and then a rainbow arcs above him, and people know, oh, that's a chief. The opening sequence to introduce Kamehameha, he's coming out of the ocean, and he's carrying this big rock on his shoulder. And as we were filming that, he came out of the ocean, and this huge rainbow arcs. And it was the longest standing rainbow I've ever seen, because rainbows are fleeting. And we have to shoot the scene over and over and over. And this rainbow does not go away. And so here we are, filming the introduction of arguably Hawaii's most famous chief. He comes out and this beautiful rainbow arcs above him. And I just remember looking around going, is anybody noticing that this is, it's one thing to have a beautiful shot. It's another thing to say, this is so culturally in alignment, that this is not VFX. You know what I mean? It's not an AI rainbow. It appeared in a moment that was a perfect representation for this character. And then when I talked to Kaina about this, I didn't know this either. I'm telling Kaina, I'm like, hey, did you see this rainbow? Did you know it was there? And he goes, I didn't notice it until later. He goes, my middle name is Anuenui. And in Hawaiian, Anuenui means rainbow. And so it was just this beautiful connection between the actor who's representing Kamehameha, whose middle name is Rainbow, and the story of Kamehameha, this rainbow culturally arcing over him, solidifying this is Kamehameha.
I mean, this was meant to be. He was meant to be. You were meant to tell the story. Oh my gosh, thank you for sharing that. I think we're out of time, but I want to maybe if you have any last words that you want to tell people, maybe the future generation of people who are going to watch Chief of War, any kind of last message?
Well, because we're at a tech conference, I will say this. It starts with this creative idea, but it does not work without all of the amazing tech that's out there, from the cranes that hold the cameras, to the way cameras work, to the VFX, to post, to all of that. And I know there's also great ideas out there on how to connect writers with filmmakers, and there's so much that you guys can do. I would never be able to tell you what is the next big thing, but I know the next big thing is coming on how to enhance film and how to make it even more enjoyable. So I guess the only thing, if I were to, because we're in Hawaii, and East meets West idea is, I would say that audiences are so savvy nowadays that they want something original and they want something new, despite the fact that Hollywood keeps repackaging and repackaging. So allow yourself the confidence to know that the stories that are within you, whether it's purely from your family or culturally based, they truly have value. And this is one thing that I do want to share, because I grew up, learning sort of a false history about ourselves. Hawaiians generationally were told that their voices had no value. Now, they may not have been physically told that, but in removing language from school, making it hard for them to have a home, removing them from the land that they grow up on and they live on, or that generationally have been a part of, you are telling them that their voices have no value. And I realized that through film, for me anyway, that as long as I can share that Hawaiian perspective through a universal lens, for audiences that want fresh, new storytelling, but want to hold on to the things that are still exciting, the formulas that we understand, all of a sudden our voices have tremendous value. And that's not just for us specifically as Hawaiians, but for all of us. And I know many of you are creators in your own way and in your own right. And I think I like walking around actually, because for some reason in the tech world, people walk with so much confidence, they're so robust in how they speak about their products and the things that they represent, and that is extremely important. Like, if you can hold that and know that what you're working on truly does have value, then it will come to fruition.
Oh, that was so beautifully said. Thank you so much, Pa'a. This is great.
Okay, wow, what a morning, what amazing content throughout the morning. Mahalo for staying with us. I know we ran through amazing content this morning, and it was a lot. We're going to break for lunch, but before we do, I would like to ask all of these beautiful people in this back corner over here, come on into the room, please, come on in. Anyone that's sitting on the end. I'm gonna take a group photo of all of you, so please assemble in the center here. Thank you so much. Don't be shy. Come close together. If you are a speaker, please come up and stand in the front. Thank you all so much. Mahalo. Come up into the center here.
If you're in the back, come on down. I think it's pretty good. Great. All right, it's happening. All right. If you can't see the camera can't see you. All right, let's get some shakas up in 3, 2, 1. On 3, 1, 2. All right, we got it. All right, let's do that again here. All right, on 3, speed slaps. 1, 2, 3. Easy West! Thank you all.
All right, we're gonna break for lunch now. We have 2 doors open in the back. Lunch is behind the screen wall behind us. You can either exit the doors and go around or go right through the 2 doors in the back of the room. We have 2 doors open leading to lunch. File out there. We're Gonna have